Most people think a promotion makes you richer. Sometimes it does. But sometimes it does something much more dangerous. It raises your salary just enough to impress other people while shrinking your time, your peace, and your ability to build anything that actually belongs to you. Picture a downtown office tower at 7:18 in the evening. Half the floor dark, one desk still glowing, one laptop still open, one person still answering messages as if the day has not already taken enough. This is the person everybody points to when they talk about ambition. The one who never passed on the extra assignment, never ducked the late meeting, never said, "That can wait until tomorrow." They got the title, they got the bigger paycheck, they got the kind of job update that makes relatives nod approvingly over dinner. And yet if you could follow them home, past the traffic, past the voice notes, past the little burst of work anxiety that flares the moment their phone lights up, you would see a much less impressive version of success. You would see them eating whatever is fastest, standing in the kitchen because sitting down feels like one more demand, glancing at email before bed, then staring at the ceiling with one question they cannot fully silence. Was this upgrade actually an upgrade? Because a lot of promotions deliver something visible and quietly remove something more valuable. That missing piece is what this video is about. More specifically, it is about the people who noticed the trade, turned the promotion down, and ended up with a life that looked less impressive for 6 months and much stronger 5 years later. My name is Nick, and I spend an unhealthy amount of time doing the kind of career math most companies hope you never run. If you have ever felt like your work life keeps getting more prestigious while your actual life keeps getting smaller, there is a reason for that, and it is more practical than motivational. If your next promotion paid more, but quietly took your evenings, your weekends, and your energy, would you still call it a win? The raise that shrinks on contact. Let us start with the part people celebrate too early. Say you move from $85,000 to $118,000. On paper, that looks like a serious leap. It sounds like progress. It sounds like proof. It sounds like the kind of number that means you are finally moving up. But salary is the headline, not the result. Once payroll taxes and income taxes take their share, that jump does not feel like $33,000 anymore. It feels closer to something in the high teens, and in a higher tax state, it can feel smaller than that. The raise arrives already thinner than it looked in the offer conversation. Then the second cut happens. More money changes what feels reasonable. The better apartment starts sounding justified. The newer car starts feeling overdue. Dinners that used to be occasional become routine. Work clothes get upgraded. Convenience starts masquerading as reward. And before long the raise has been assigned to a more expensive version of ordinary life. That is not moral failure. It is the default setting for most people. New income creates permission faster than it creates wealth. So let us say the extra take-home from that promotion is around $19,000, and let us say normal lifestyle creep quietly absorbs more than half of it. Now you are down to maybe $8,000 or $9,000 of real annual improvement. Now add the hidden operating costs. More office days, more commuting, more lunch spending, more grooming, more replacement spending because you are tired and your time is tighter, more little purchases designed to keep the machine running. Add the low-level health cost of stress, the convenience purchases that show up when your week has no oxygen in it, and that glamorous promotion starts behaving like a very expensive costume change. At that point, the question changes. It is no longer, how much more do I make? It becomes, how much more of my life did I sell, and what did I truly keep? A raise can make you feel successful months before it makes you wealthier. And that lag is where bad decisions hide. Because by the time people notice the upgrade did not really upgrade them, the new lifestyle is already billing them back. The hourly number nobody wants to discuss. Here is the number that tells the truth faster than salary ever will. Take a manager earning $142,000 a year. Sounds strong. Sounds like they are clearly ahead. Now compare that to a senior specialist earning $101,000 who stayed out of management and kept a cleaner schedule. If the manager is working 56 hours most weeks and the specialist is actually working 40, the gap changes shape immediately. The higher-paid person is not dramatically out-earning the other on an hourly basis. In many cases, they are barely ahead. Sometimes the premium for taking the bigger title works out to a few dollars an hour. Sometimes it is less. That is before you count the hours that spill into Saturday morning, the Sunday planning session, the vacation that somehow still includes calls, The dinner that gets interrupted by just one quick thing. This is where a promotion stops looking like a raise and starts looking like a bulk purchase of your time. A lot of white-collar leadership roles are salaried, exempt, and effectively open-ended, which means the company is no longer buying a fixed workweek. It is buying your availability. The moment you step into that structure, extra hours stop being exceptional and start being implied. That is the real promotion premium. Not only more responsibility, but more responsibility without a clean stopping point. If you are giving away 12 or 15 extra hours every week, that is not a small detail. That is a second job you are doing for an employer who calls it leadership. Shocking stat, 15 extra hours a week is 780 hours a year, nearly 19 extra 40-hour work weeks. That is not a busy season. That is almost 5 extra months of full-time labor hiding behind one nicer title. What those hours could have become. Now let us do the math people almost never do before accepting the title. What could those hours build if they still belong to you? Not a billion-dollar startup, not some fantasy escape route, just something modest, repeatable, and owned. Freelance work in your field, a small consulting service, a niche product, content with real monetization, contract work a few times a month, something boring enough to work and boring enough to last. Say those reclaimed hours produce $1,800 a month. Not heroic, not viral, not magical, just steady. Invest most of that over time, and the story changes fast. What looked like less ambition starts turning into actual assets. This is the part most people miss. The person who declines the promotion is not necessarily earning less in the only way that matters. They may be redirecting labor away from corporate prestige and into ownership, flexibility, and compounding. One path gives you a bigger title and more exposure to corporate volatility. The other gives you more discretionary time and a growing base that no reorg can confiscate. Titles scale your status inside a system. Owned cash flow scales your freedom outside one. What would your life look like if the hours you hand to your employer every week were spent building something you actually owned? That is where this trade gets uncomfortable. Because the real comparison is not title versus title. It is title versus leverage. 2 people, 1 Tuesday. Let me show you what this looks like when it leaves the spreadsheet and lands in a real week. It is Tuesday night, and this is the moment the gap starts becoming visible. It is a Wednesday in October. Evan is 40, now a department head, earning around $155,000. If you met him briefly, you would assume he won. He has the polished job title, the company equity deck he does not fully trust, the house payment that requires continued success, the 2-car setup that became normal somewhere along the way, the school bill he did not plan on but now treats as untouchable. At 8:04 p.m., he is still working. There is a staffing issue, a forecast review, a presentation for Friday, a direct report already hinting at burnout, and a chain of messages that multiplied while he was in meetings about reducing the number of meetings. He is tired in a way that looks respectable from the outside and corrosive from the inside. His retirement account exists, but it is not where it should be. His salary is high enough to maintain the life around it, not high enough to feel free inside it. Across the city, Maya is also 40. She stayed in a senior individual contributor role when a management track opened up. Twice. People were confused the first time, concerned the second time. She is making about $108,000. Works remotely most days, and at 6:10 she is home, making dinner before the evening belongs to nobody but her. She has been investing steadily for years because her lifestyle never inflated to match every raise. She built a small advisory service on the side, charging for expertise her employer benefits from every day. It now brings in a few thousand a month. Most of it goes straight into investments. She has time to think, time to recover, time to notice opportunities before they become emergencies. On paper, Evan still looks more successful. In practice, Maya has more investable money, more optionality, less pressure, and a life that does not require continued corporate ascent just to remain stable. That is the trap. The higher salary can create a more fragile life if the structure around it is built on exhaustion. Counterintuitive claim. The person who earns less can easily be the person who is getting richer faster. The career game you think you are playing. Companies are very good at making advancement feel identical to personal success. That is useful for them. The promotion ladder is often presented as a neutral path upward, but in practice it behaves more like a tournament. Everyone is encouraged to perform as if the next rung changes everything, while only a small percentage actually move up, and many of those who do discover that the prize is less freedom than they imagined. The system works because the signal is powerful. A new title feels like external validation, social proof, movement, status, maturity. It tells your family you are doing well, tells your peers you are progressing, tells your younger self that all this effort is becoming something visible. But a company does not promote you to make you financially independent. A company promotes you to solve a problem for the company. Those two goals sometimes overlap. They do not automatically overlap. And that is the tension most people never sit with long enough. The company is celebrating a version of you that is more useful to them, while you may be telling yourself it is automatically better for you. Once you see that clearly, you start asking better questions. Not, is this the next step? But what is this role really buying from me? What does it pay after friction? And what happens to the rest of my life if I say yes? That is an entirely different conversation from ambition. It is a conversation about leverage. Are you being promoted into more freedom, or just into being more valuable to the machine? Why bigger income stops solving the feeling? There is another reason this matters, and it has nothing to do with spreadsheets. A lot of people chase promotions because they believe one more salary jump will finally produce the emotional state they have been calling success. They think there is a level where the pressure lifts, the doubt fades, the life starts feeling confirmed. Sometimes more income really does improve life, especially when someone is moving from financial strain into genuine stability. But after a certain point, more money does less emotional work than people expect. Once your basics are covered and your margin improves, the next gain often has weaker returns, especially if it is purchased with more stress, less time, and a life that feels permanently interrupted. That is why two people can make different salaries, and yet the calmer one often feels wealthier. Security matters. Slack matters. The ability to absorb a problem without panic matters. A funded emergency buffer, a routine that does not collapse every week, the ability to leave a weak situation without immediate financial damage. Those things create a deeper sense of stability than another title line under your name. The person who earns slightly less but built real margin often sleeps better than the person who earns more and outsourced their piece to the next promotion. What are you really chasing with the next raise? More wealth, or the feeling you hope the wealth will finally create? Because those are not the same pursuit, and confusing them is one of the most expensive mistakes ambitious people make. The identity cost nobody mentions. There is also a quieter danger hiding inside all of this. If your title becomes your main proof that you matter, your job stops being something you do and starts becoming the place where your identity lives. That feels fine while the company keeps rewarding you. It feels much worse when the structure changes, leadership changes, budgets change, or your role suddenly becomes negotiable in a way you were not prepared for. The people who climb hardest are often the most exposed when a company restructures, because they built expensive lives around high fixed income and tied self-worth to a system that can redraw itself in one quarter. The specialist with strong skills, lower overhead, actual savings, and something small on the side may not look as decorated, but they are harder to destabilize. They still know what they do. They still have room. They still have options. A lot of very polished careers are just golden handcuffs with better branding. The more your title becomes your identity, the less negotiating power you usually have when things turn against you. The people who quietly step sideways. This is why some of the smartest career moves do not look impressive in the moment. Sometimes the winning move is not up. Sometimes it is across. A lateral shift can broaden skills, increase resilience, keep your workload human, expose you to a better industry, or put you in a function with more future upside. The person who moves sideways and builds range can end up with better long-term income than the person who accepted every vertical step in one narrow track. That path is harder to brag about at dinner because it does not come with an easy label. It comes with something better, though. It keeps your career attached to capabilities instead of titles. And capabilities travel. The same is true when people intentionally stay individual contributors, not because they lack ambition, but because they understand what kind of ambition they are actually optimizing for. Family time, health, autonomy, travel, creative work, a business on the side, earlier investing, lower dependence on one employer. These are not consolation prizes. They are often the real prize. Sideways moves often compound better than upward moves because skills transfer longer than titles do. That is why the less impressive decision so often wins later. It ages better when saying yes actually makes sense. Now, not every promotion is bad. Some are absolutely worth taking. If the raise is large enough that it meaningfully increases real savings after tax, and after the role's added friction, take it. If the job gives you access to equity that has a credible chance of being valuable, take it. If the role builds durable skills you can later use elsewhere, take it. If it moves you from financial fragility into genuine security, take it. But if the offer mainly buys more meetings, more emotional labor, more invisible hours, more office politics, more dependence on convenience, and more lifestyle inflation disguised as achievement, then the math is trying to tell you something. The title is the decoration. The real question is what remains after the cost of carrying it. After taxes, time loss, stress, and lifestyle creep, how much of this promotion would actually still belong to you? The better question. So the next time a promotion shows up, do not ask only whether it pays more. Ask the question most people avoid because it ruins the fantasy. What will this role quietly force me to become in order to keep it? Ask what it pays per actual hour, what it does to your schedule, what it does to your stress, what it does to your ability to build something outside work, what it does to your spending, what it does to your dependence on the company, what it does to your investing rate, and what it does to the version of you who has to live inside that calendar. Most people stop at the salary bump because that number is easy to celebrate. The harder, smarter question is whether the role expands your life or just makes you more expensive to maintain. A promotion that adds just $10,000 a year in real savings but removes 700 usable hours is paying surprisingly little for an enormous chunk of your life. The real win. At first, turning down a promotion can feel like you are betraying your own story. The high-achieving version of you panics a little. Other people look confused. Someone asks if you are losing momentum. You wonder whether you are making a mistake. Then time starts returning to you. The evenings stop feeling like wreckage. The investments you are actually funding begin to grow. The small thing you are building on the side becomes real enough to count. The Sunday dread softens. Your finances become less theatrical and more solid. 5 years pass faster than you expect, and the comparison gets uncomfortable for all the right reasons. The person who kept chasing title after title often has a larger salary and a narrower life. The person who protected time, kept their costs cleaner, invested earlier, and built one thing that belonged to them outright may look less impressive on paper and far stronger everywhere that matters. That is the part nobody explains when they tell you to keep climbing. Sometimes the smartest career move is not the one that raises your status inside the company. Sometimes it is the one that increases your ownership of your own time, your own money, your own skills, and your own future. Go where the real leverage is. Keep more of your week. Invest the difference. Build something the org chart cannot take back. Let compounding work for you instead of spending your best hours making someone else's system run smoother. 5 years from now, which decision will look smarter? The one that impressed people this quarter or the one that quietly made you freer? Because that is the real trap. Promotions are easy to measure in public. Freedom compounds in private. And private compounding is usually what makes people rich.